All right, what's up, everybody? How are y'all doing out there? Thank you for joining me once again in conversation for another edition of the Dungeon Show. My name is Frank Red, and it is a pleasure and an honor to be with you over the next hour to 2 hours, talking about what's going on in the world of sports and any of the intersections that might occur as well. So happy to be here, and we all get antsy like the week before the NFL season starts, and we're kind of building up to that. But I actually think that the build-up might be better than the actual event next week, because this was an incredible sports weekend, and we're going to talk about it tonight. College football is its own narrative. Unlike college basketball compared to the NBA, I think there's kind of a perspective when you watch college basketball now that it doesn't stand alone. It's kind of a feeding ground to the NBA. In some respects, it really is. College football really isn't. A lot of first-round draft picks in the NFL, we don't even know who they are. It takes time to get to know all of these players. Players who don't have an opportunity to play at the next level become heroes and legends at the college football level. And I think that's why we love it so much. It is its own standing sport. And there was a lot of good things to watch, listen to, and ultimately talk about. And we're going to do that tonight as well. And the NFL starts on Thursday. The Dallas Cowboys take on the Philadelphia Eagles. That should be interesting. This finality with regards to Michael Parsons, the talented former linebacker of the Dallas Cowboys, has moved on to Green Bay, and he won as far as I'm concerned. Maybe Dallas will win. I don't think so. I don't think that you get rid of generational players, but when you're the owner and you've won Super Bowls 30 years ago, you can do whatever you want to do. And there is a narrative to say that this thing will work out. We'll watch. But as a Dallas Cowboy fan, if I was a Dallas Cowboy fan, to see the best player on my team traded, that would not make me feel good. So it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on it. But at least it's finality, and we'll get to the point where we're playing football. San Francisco 49ers appear to be positioning themselves to move forward with or without Jauan Jennings. That disappoints me a little bit, but I get it. I mean, it's football. I think he deserves to be treated better than he has been. But if you notice over the past week, there's been this narrative out there that Jauan Jennings has essentially priced himself out of the market, asking for $20+ million. Until I hear Jauan Jennings or his agent say that that's what they're asking for, I don't believe it. And why don't I believe it? Because I know how the media works. If you follow this stuff closely, and the reporter who made this statement public about what Jauan wants in terms of salary, if you've heard of this person talking to Jauan, getting a quote from him or his agent, let me know about it, because I've been scammering the internet and looking, and I haven't seen it. The math doesn't work. Logically, to me, if I'm Jauan Jennings and I make $7.5 million and I want to get 100%, $15 million for a starting wide receiver in the NFL, it's not absurd. It really isn't. To get a raise more than 100%, that's a bit much. And from my perspective, if I'm a player and I'm being represented by someone, this is a joint venture. This is not me sitting back listening to my agent and not having impact on what transpires. I remember listening to Keyshawn Johnson for years. Now, Keyshawn Johnson's favorite, one of his most memorable quotes that I heard from him is you work for me. I don't work for you. Talking to his agent. And that's not disrespectful. What it is listen, let's take a step back and jointly work together to make me happy because I'm paying your salary. I would think that a guy like Juwan would be involved in that process. Now, if there are other variables aligned with the deal, maybe the 49ers said, listen, we'll give you $15 million, but we want an extra year on your deal. That didn't come out. The only thing that we heard was Juwan Jennings wants $20+ million, and the 49ers are like, no way. I don't have a problem with the 49ers not paying him $20 million. I need to hear that he asked for that amount of money for me to believe it, because I understand how the media works. Rarely does a player, I don't care what stature you are, rarely does a player have, real allies in the media. Organizations have allies in the media. They put stories out. Agents to a lesser degree in other sports can do it a little bit, but not necessarily in the NFL. So I'm puzzled by it. Damn near every person who provides content for the 49ers on YouTube, on talk shows, have essentially, they didn't say it, but it makes Juwan Jennings look like he can't count. Or he's not a good math student. Basic math. $7.5 million. And you want $20 million, allegedly. I don't think so. I would have to hear it from his agent. I would have to hear it from him to believe it. The fans of the 49ers and people who casually care about sports, they don't have time to investigate this stuff. They're busy living their lives and trying to put food on the table. But when they hear statements like that, they buy into it because they don't know how the media works. They assume that the media said it, it must be true, which is far from the case. By the way, the 49ers practice squad is loaded with players. You're probably going to see as many as, if it's 17 guys, you might see as many as 10 of those guys actually get on the field this year, or maybe even more. They're stocked. The 49ers have a good team. They really do. With or without Juwan Jennings, I think they're going to be competitive in most games, and I expect them to make the playoffs. College football was so much fun to me. I like to see Florida State winning. I like to see them have success. I do. Why? Because I like Bobby Bowden. Bobby Bowden, I think, really in a time when he didn't necessarily have to do it, really took a personal touch with his players. You know, the Derrick Brooks of the world, the Deion Sanders of the world, and so many others have gone on to great prominence. Ward, the running back, who builds homes for single moms. I mean, Florida State was not only winning on the football field for decades, but Bobby Bowden's impact on the lives of young people was something that I really looked up to as a young athlete myself. And the fact that they beat Alabama, I like Alabama, but I was happy that Florida State won. I think Nick Saban should have picked his coach. And I think that's part of the problem. The Washington coach, Alabama's current coach now, he's an offensive guy. And the SEC is not an offensive, it's not an offensive league. It's really a defensive league. Kellen DeBoer. And, he took the job. He's being paid. But he's going to have a tough time winning at Alabama in the SEC if he doesn't lead with defense. And there's nothing about him that says he is out there recruiting the best defensive players in the country. Florida State was able to run on them and score on them. And Florida State has a phenomenal quarterback. And he came from Boston College. Bill O'Brien actually benched this guy. And he left. I'll get his name in a second. I'm going to talk about the U.S. Open also. You guys know the story. A tremendous accomplishment by someone who seemingly came out of nowhere. Taylor Townsend, a young lady from Chicago, almost made it to the round of 16. Lost a tough match today, but I'm going to talk about her a little later because in the midst of total disrespect, she not only was playing great tennis, but she took one for the bigger good. She was disrespected by somebody on the tennis court, and as opposed to giving it back to her, I think she handled herself in a very classy way, and as a result, I think it's going to benefit her down the road. Not only as a tennis player, but as a model that people can look to and root for. So Taylor Townsend, keep your eye on her. Golden State Valkaries continue to amaze me for so many different reasons, and I want to talk about that as well. But we got a lot of topics out there. My name is Frank Red. If you didn't know, listen for the first time, I appreciate you. Hit the like button, all right? And subscribe to the show. I want to get it started. I want to go out and talk to the great Vicky. She says, hi, Frank. How are you? Did you see the Michigan game? What did you think of Underwood? I did not see the game. I saw quite a few highlights, Vicky, and I'm rooting for him. He's number one quarterback coming out of high school. Michigan, I think, is the perfect program for him because he's going to play fundamental football. He's not going to be asked to do a bunch of stuff. He's not. Make the basic throws. Don't turn the ball over. Hand the ball up to the running back and play tough football. He's a freshman, straight out of high school. So I was very impressed with Underwood, and I like Michigan. I like Michigan's uniforms. I like what they stand for. And they're going to be competitive in the Big Ten like they always are. Ohio State has a ferocious defense. Texas saw that. I'm going to take a different angle on Arch Manning. I don't think he played as bad as some people think that he did. They're jumping on the kid. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a stickler for drops. My coaches told me, if the ball hits your hands, you're supposed to catch the ball. I saw about 3 or 4 drops, many of them on third down, that could have sustained drives for him. Did he play well first half? No. Why? I think he was scared. I think he really was scared. He was nervous. And as he got settled, he started to play better. But, he's not used to playing against that level of competition. He's not. Ohio State's defense is ferocious. And if they make it to the playoffs, it's going to be because of their defense, not because of their offense. And Arch Manning was like, holy crap. This is what being a starting quarterback feels like? Yeah, it is, dude. I also think, again, the media can help you and it can hurt you. Sometimes the media gets involved in hero worshiping. I don't get into hero worshiping. I've been in that situation. I've been on the court with future NBA players. And you got to put yourself in a position mentally where you got to compete against these guys. That was Arch Manning. He has a real good arm, good footwork, fast. I think he's going to be a good player. This idea that slam the gauntlet down, he's definitely coming out this year, be the number 1 pick. Slow down, and let the kid develop like everybody else. My man Keith says, what's up, Frank? I can see why Manning didn't start his first 2 years. Absolutely. He's not good enough. Most overhyped player since O.J. Mayo. Yeah. O.J. Mayo, Keith, actually was a decent player. And there's all types of stories about O.J. Mayo being like 17 when he was a freshman in high school, 18-year-old sophomore and all that stuff. But on a serious note, O.J. Mayo actually kind of got tripped up professionally because of non-football issues. And that was unfortunate. It really was. Key says the quarterback for Cal looks amazing. 5-star recruit from nearby. I'm finally excited for Cal football again. Yes. I wrote his name down. His name is Jaren Kiawi Sagapuluteli. The real deal. Know what's funny though? As good as he is, and it took about a quarter to realize this guy's a top 5 NBA NFL prospect. Did you see those lasers he's throwing, banging off his teammates' helmets in their chests? I'm like, can you go out and get this guy some wide receivers? I mean, why not go borrow some guys off the basketball team? I mean, this is crazy. And I mean, he's 18. And he was a little frustrated. By the third quarter, the camera would flash him, and he'd like be deadpan. He was like, guys on my high school team could catch passes better than this. But all seriousness, Cal got a good one. They really do. He looks like Steve Young to me. You know, he throws a looping ball that comes down like a loaf of Wonder Bread. Talk about easy passes to catch. Soft, on target. You know, the softness of a Ken Stabler pass. Now, some of you might, who the hell is Ken Stabler, Red? Do your homework. The most recent comparison that I can make for him is Steve Young. He doesn't have Steve Young's speed, you know, but he has size like Steve Young. The Cal cash register is ringing off the hook right now. You know, I actually have to work a little bit now to, go to a game, go to my once a year game with my friends. So might be a little more crowded. Fun. Had a great time watching Cal last night. The only thing I could think about was this team should be in the Pac-12. You know, once again, why are they traveling 3,000 miles to play a football game every other weekend? Did you know that Cal had 37 players transfer last year? 37! And maybe they had about 35 newcomers. They got to fix that. They really do. Pisses me off. Steve-O says 2 drops late in the Ohio wasn't good either. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, you know, hey. I believe in catching the ball. I pride myself on catching everything. If it hits your hands, catch the ball. Even tonight, some of those balls of some of those Notre Dame players, I mean, just ping-ponging off their hands. I mean, these are D1 players with alleged pro potential. Catch the ball. Key says LSU and Florida State were impressive for week 1 upsets of highly ranked teams. Yeah, I mean, I thought LSU finally won a first game, which is good. What's the quarterback's name? Nasser. They talked about. I mean, they're talking about him being a first-round pick. Nessler or Nusser, good player, but I started thinking about some of the guys who are in the NFL right now, these rookie quarterbacks. And the narrative in the NFL in the preseason was there's this great quarterback class coming in. And there are a lot of good college quarterbacks. There really are. But some of these guys, when I look at them playing college football, the conclusion that I draw is they're going to take their lumps in the NFL like everybody else. It's not going to be this parade of quarterbacks who come in and just light it on fire right away. I don't think so. I think they're good prospects, but I think it's going to take some time. Steve-O says ASU's quarterback looked good. Levitz. I watched Levitz play last year. I didn't really watch the Arizona State game. I think it was on during the Cal game, was it? Yeah, so I didn't see a lot of it. But he's a good player. Chubba Purdy played number 2 Penn. Oh wow, with 106,000 and at Penn State, I'm assuming. Yeah. Versus Levi's 85. Yeah, I mean, you know what? A lot of people get paid at Penn State. That's how they make money. That's how they feed themselves. And I'm a big Franklin guy. I am. People get on Franklin, the head coach at Penn State, but I think he's a hell of a coach. And if Penn State's not in the playoffs this year, I'm talking like Final Four, I would be disappointed. I think that they are the best team in the Big Ten this year. I don't think with a new quarterback at Ohio State, they're going to be quite good enough. Michigan's going to be competitive, and hopefully they have their quarterback for the next couple of years. But I don't think that they are quite good enough. Some might look at Iowa State and say, yo, Red, keep your eye on them. They played well. They're off to a 2-0 start. But I think if Penn State's going to win the Big Ten, this is their year. They got it all. They really do. TJ says, best show of the week. Let's go Vols. 3-game winning streak. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm amazed that the Vols continue to win. I mean, I'm happy. And if they play Indiana at home and Caitlin Clark's not playing, I'm not surprised that they won. I'm not. But they get you on a roller coaster. That first half, they were up, 15, 17 points? And by the third quarter, it was down to 6 or 7. So I give a lot of credit to Coach Nakase. She's brilliant. As a coach, watching her coach, I just love her preparation. And she coaches the Valkaries like an NBA team. She really does. I mean, she leads with defense. As much as they shoot threes, they're the best defensive team in the WNBA. And that speaks to coaching, her assistant coaches, and maturity and execution by the players. How many players have been hurt? It doesn't matter. Somebody else just steps up. There's some irony, though. They flashed Joe Lacob, right? And the only thing I could think about watching Joe Lacob was him saying to myself, damn, we're going to make the playoffs this year. The first expansion team ever to make the playoffs. And Ball Holla is going to be Ball Oakland. Now, I don't know how that's going to impact people in the East Bay getting tickets. It might, the fans of the Valkaries might simply just get on BART or get in their car and drive across the bay to Oakland, and that's their fan base, which is fine. But there's some irony there. There really is. And I'm thinking Joe Lacob and whomever behind the scenes is working their magic to try to get those dedicated dates to Chase that allegedly get in the way of the Valkyries' potential playoff game. I'm thinking they're trying to change that. Can you imagine making the playoffs your first year and you're not playing in your home arena? Key says, Cal got an easy schedule and a good coach. It may be the best freshman in the country. Berkeley is going to be lit. Yeah, you know what, Keys? I wanted to go, and I still do. I wanted to go to the North Carolina game when they play Belichick. Good luck finding a ticket there. I mean, Cal is an old school stadium. They did a renovation about 10, 12 years ago. I love Cal Stadium. I do. I love it. There's not a bad seat in the house. You know, they could do a lot to change those bleachers, because that's essentially what they have. They have seats in some areas, but they have some bleachers. But I love the scenery of Cal Stadium, and it's going to be rocking. It really is. All of the big games are probably going to have in excess of 60, 70, 80,000 fans. So get ready for that. I'm sure Cal fans are happy. Key says, Lynch looks stressed. I see him stepping down soon. as making more money and working less with no stress. Okay. Well, he was a broadcaster, obviously, before he became general manager. And everybody has a, everybody has a run. I think Lynch and Shanahan want to win a Super Bowl first. Now, it's easy to say that. It's tough to do when you consider how competitive the NFL is. But I like their team. I do. They don't have any. Well, I'm not going to say they don't have any superstars because they have a lot of good players. But more than anything this year, they have depth. They have depth at running back, depth at tight end. The wide receiver position, I think, is still sketchy. Scanlon coming in is a veteran receiver. He can play. They're going to get a DeMarcus Robinson back after 3 games. He's solid. Robbie Chosen, the former Robbie Anderson, he can play. They got players. So I like where they are. I also looked at their rookies this year. How many of those guys? I mean, they got like 6 or 7 rookies on the team this year. So they've done a good job. The only thing that I don't like is the Jennings thing. And at some point, he's going to play. It looks like this is going to be a marriage that's not going to end well. And that happens. My only thing is I wish there was more transparency. When a reporter asked Lynch specifically about it, he goes, well, it's something that we keep inside. No, we don't talk about that. We keep it internal inside the company. But yet, allegedly, I mean, how would a reporter get information about what he is asking for? Most people think that the 49ers leaked the information. Whether or not they did, I can't say 100%, but logic suggests that it would not be absurd to draw that conclusion. $20 million from a $7.5 million salary seems unreasonable to me. It does. When you're on a 1-year deal and you're going to become a free agent, I think it does. Key says Jennings needs to practice ASAP or IR him. If he's healthy, he needs to play. I'm going to say that. If he's healthy, he needs to play. Because this is a guy who has a pristine reputation in the NFL. Pristine. And he's not simply playing for his career as a San Francisco 49er. He's not. Could they kiss and make up and he get a nice contract that he feels good about? Yeah, that could happen. But if it doesn't happen, he still needs to be someone who is viewed favorably by the NFL. If he's clearly not healthy, then that's something that he needs to decide. But if he's healthy, I think he needs to play. The only way you can put stats up is by getting on the field, right? I have a hard time believing that Ricky Pearsall, a talented young player, how many games do you think Ricky Pearsall is going to play this year? 13? If Ricky Pearsall plays 13 games, I would salute him. Why? Because he has a propensity to get hurt. That's why. So they're going to need Jawan Jennings. They are going to need him. And the fact that they might want to make an example out of Jawan if his asking price for a new contract is $20 million, I get it. But $15 million, doubling his salary? seems very reasonable to me. Key says, makes sense. Leak Jennings' ridiculous request. Then fans won't be mad when we trade him. They don't want to trade him. He's the best wide receiver on the team. That's the thing. That's the thing, Keith. They don't want to trade him. Why? Because he makes tough catches. That's why. Marcus Robinson is not, DeMarcus Robinson is not going to be there for the first 3 games. He makes tough catches too. He's a good player. Ricky Pearsall, I get nervous when Ricky Pearsall goes over the middle. I do. So, until somebody proves me wrong, I think they really need Jennings. Because one of the things that Brock Purdy has showed us is when he's under duress, he's not the same quarterback, like most of these guys aren't. When he has a clean pocket and he has somebody to throw the ball to in big windows and particularly small windows, he looks damn good. He looks like a top 10 caliber quarterback. So make no mistake about it. The finance piece of this business has kind of gotten in the way, but they need Jauan Jennings. They really do. Brian, how you doing, brother? Hopefully things are going well. Good to hear from you. Says my man Frank. Glad I can jump back in the dungeon tonight. What's up? What's up? I read your stuff, and I like it that you're like keep it continue. Your slant on sports generally is different, and I know you a little bit, so I know what you're trying to do, and I love it. I mean, why have a take that 99 people have? Yours is generally different. If people agree with it or not, I assume it's right what you. I assume that you're coming from sincerity, from a place of sincerity. But sometimes you like taking a contrarian angle, and I like it. I love it. Keep it up. Vicky says, if JK is so good of a player, then why haven't any other team offered him a contract? I think the Jennings and the JK contract are the same thing. Players asking too much. Well, Vicky, the NBA is a little different because there's this thing called the salary cap, which they have in football as well. But football players and executives don't walk around with aprons on. In the NBA, when they slap that apron on you, oh man, you don't want that on you. So the Jonathan Kuminga's pending free agency, or 5th year of his rookie contract comes at a time when teams simply don't have the room. So they can't offer Jonathan Kuminga a contract worthy of his talent without putting themselves in financial strife. That's a fact. Sacramento wanted to give him a nice deal. The Warriors did not like what Sac was offering on the back end, and they played around and intimated that an unprotected first-round pick in 32 was the stopgap of the trade. I mean, give me a break. Does anybody believe that? Does anybody believe that? Who's going to be there in 32 for the Warriors? Please. Sac offered Monk and a first-round pick, protected. And if you wanted to trade Kuminga, that was not a horrible deal as far as they were concerned. Malik Monk, albeit a solid NBA player, I don't think he's a good fit for the Warriors. I don't think the Warriors think he's a good fit. The other team was the Phoenix Suns, who desperately wanted Jonathan Kuminga. They offered the Warriors, 4 second-round picks and maybe a player. I mean, I don't blame the Warriors. I don't. What I don't like about these negotiations, if we can call it that, is a lot of time Jonathan Kuminga's talent and his ability has been demeaned and I think disrespected, to actually kind of make sense of what the Warriors were offering. And then this deal, a 2-year, $45 million deal with a team option. I'm not signing that. If I'm Jonathan Kuminga. Plus, they can trade you? No. I think Jonathan Kuminga is within his right to sign his tender. Not his tender. I guess it is a tender. Sign his contract when he has to, show up, and then play his tail off. That's what he needs to do. Once again, like Juwan Jennings, he's not playing for the Warriors necessarily. He's playing to position himself to get paid by 29 other teams in the NBA. Brian Iglesias says, my slant on sports is not for the faint of heart or the homer. I call it how I see it. Did you say Juwan is the best wideout on the 49ers? Yes, I did. Who's better? Who's better than Juwan Jennings? Now, Brian, this is how you know I read your stuff, and I read everything, really do. I'm a sports fanatic, dude. I don't take days off. I have a once a week show, but I'm on top of stuff. Your take was the Giants, San Francisco Giants. I don't really talk about the Giants a lot on this show. I think it would be a little disingenuous when we have people like Dan Coach Amelia, who literally does a post game for all 162 games. That's my guy. You said the Giants should basically just bury the season. At the trade deadline, you wanted them to get rid of everybody. And I said, wait a minute. Aren't people still paying money to go see the Giants? Shouldn't they have players that they could recognize? No, they were playing horribly at that particular time, but they still had 50 games left? 60 games? So will you admit that you probably were wrong saying that? Or do you still think they should have tanked? Because once again, I don't listen to local radio a lot, but I was listening a lot during that particular time because my car was getting fixed. So my satellite radio, I didn't have access to it. I mean, people were jumping off of cliffs because Devers was not playing well. Oh, what is Buster Posey doing? This trade is terrible. Good players ultimately play well. And once again, Devers seems like a coup to me for Buster Posey. To have that guy in your lineup, go get another one. So, what's your take on that? I read your stuff. All right, so Kittle's not a wide receiver. CMC's not a wide receiver. Juwan Jennings, to me, is not better than Ricky Pearsall. Brandon Ayuk is not playing. And, I mean, so if you tell me that the Brandon Ayuk, when 100%, is better than Juwan Jennings, I can go with that. But that's not the Ayuk that we're going to see when he's back on the field day one. Ricky Pearsall is not a better wide receiver than Juwan Jennings right now, to me. He hasn't shown an ability to make tough catches in the regular season. I think he's a good player. He could ultimately be the best receiver. But if you go back and you take a look at Ricky Pearsall's career at Arizona State and at Florida, he has a potential to get hurt. Juwan Jennings rarely gets hurt. So that's my take on that. But collectively, I think they got a pretty good receiving core. For the offense that they run, they're going to be a run-heavy offense. Kittle, who's a better tight end in football right now than Kittle? Who's better? It's a lot of good ones. Arizona might have the best tight end in football. I can't think of his name right now. Hell of a player. Plays a lot like Kittle, as a matter of fact. Kamikaze type player. What do you think about Michael Parsons? How do you think he's going to do in Green Bay? I think he is not going to be Lawrence Taylor. He's not going to have the impact that Reggie White had. I think he's going to be one of their best defensive players. And he might be the guy who gets Green Bay over the top because of his unique pass rushing skills. They already have a good defense, but that one skill to put relentless pressure on the quarterback is rare in the NFL. When you have one of those guys, you have a game wrecker. You have a game wrecker. And when you look at that division, Chicago and Detroit and Minnesota, you need a difference maker. So I think Green Bay made a really good move. I also think about this for a second. The first round picks they gave Dallas will probably be somewhere between 23 and 32, probably 25 and 32. If you are an excellent evaluating organization, when you draft in the third round, you feel like you're drafting first round picks. If you draft in the second round, you feel like you got a guy who can start and play like a first round pick. I mean, you look at the 49ers, they drafted Pooney in the third round last year. Plug and play starter. If he was back in that draft last year, he'd be a first round pick. So most of these teams that have had a sustained level of success, it's been because they've drafted well and they know how to develop players. So I think Green Bay made a good move, and I think time will tell how things work out for the Cowboys. The Cowboys can draft too, but they traded away their best player. And, I'm not one of these people who is, when Jerry's no longer here now. I don't like that. I don't like to root for someone else's demise. He's 85 years old. I hope he's here another 100 years. I hope he's here for the next 20 years, which would be amazing. But the reason why they have not had success is because he is not only the owner, he's the one decision maker. And he always says that I consulted I talked to this person and that person. He might have talked to him, but he don't listen to him. Interesting guy. The Colorado Buffaloes, Deion Sanders, the Deion Sanders-led Colorado Buffaloes lost to Georgia Tech 27-20 on Friday night. And it wasn't a good loss. I mean, they tried, they were competitive, but their defense was just atrocious. Now, their quarterback, Salter, from Liberty, I thought that he was like a stud who's going to come in and not be Shador, but I thought he was going to be kind of a plug-and-play guy. That guy was running for his life. And, they have the kid Lewis, who's a five-star player out of high school. I think he's probably going to be starting by game 3 or 4, maybe even sooner than that, because Salter just doesn't look like a top-notch quarterback to me. So their offense, even though they put 20 points on the board, I think they're going to struggle against really good teams. And their defense, I think, will get better. They'll be competitive. But it's hard to see them winning 8 or 9 games like they did last year. And I tend to look at Colorado a little differently now because of Deion. I mean, we can't understate It's not a miracle, but it's been miraculous. It is miraculous to see him on the sideline now after having bladder cancer. Nobody was calling it bladder cancer when he was sick. But dude had bladder cancer. That's tough. Brian says, Kittle catches passes. Yeah, he does. CMC catches passes. Yeah. Ricky is their number one receiver heading into week 1. Juwan is 4th or 5th. Stop it. When everyone comes back, no way I'm paying a 4th or 5th option on a running team 20 large. I don't think he asked for 20 large. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. And I'm going to say this, dude. Everything that I do, Luke Walton said this about his dad, the great Bill Walton. One of my favorite players when I was a kid, R.I.P. Luke Walton said that his dad told him to always question authority. Always. Ask questions. Be curious. At all times. Don't be afraid to challenge people. That's what his dad told him. That stuck with me. And the reason being is because if I am an investigator, if I am a detective, wouldn't you want to hear wouldn't you want to investigate to the best of your ability if that statement actually came from Juwan Jennings or his representation? Have we heard anything about the reporter going to him? I mean, because think about it. You're going to make $7.5 million and you're going to hold out until they give you $20 million? Come on, man. Come on, dude. Do you know what kind of statement that makes about intelligence? That's why I don't believe it. You know how bad that makes you look? I don't believe it. I will believe it when his agent comes out. Rosenhaus, he's done a gazillion press conferences. We've heard nothing. When the 49ers had their nonprofit celebration dinner at Levi, I saw Juwan Jennings in the clip. He was there with his jersey on. I'm just saying, just consider that for a second. Just consider that for a second. Even if the reporter, we know who the reporter is, even if the reporter is telling the truth, and he's a highly respected writer who clearly has the ear of the 49ers. Wouldn't the appropriate thing for him to do is acknowledge that he's either talked to Juwan Jennings or he's not? If he's done that, and I have not seen it, could somebody send that to me? Because I haven't heard about it. I listen to Sports Talk Radio. I haven't heard anything about Juwan Jennings or his side confirming that story. It's simple. That's not hard. We know what Jonathan Kuminga was asking for within the range. We have an idea. How the hell can you say we're a better team after trading away your best player and a 26-year-old generational talent, only 2 first-round picks and a 30-year-old? Oh my God! Yeah, I know. That you know what? And you didn't hear one whisper, Ryan. You didn't hear one whisper from anybody from Dallas to combat that statement. I mean, listen. Jerry just extended his DB, for $90 million, $50 million guaranteed. I mean, it's a roller coaster that nobody wants to be on. crazy. But here's the thing. The Dallas Cowboys equate success with money. And we all know that money is only a part of the variables that you would use to gauge success. For Jerry Jones, it's popularity and money. But everybody got money. It's not that big a deal. It's winning and making money. If you win, you'll make money. Parsons is a young guy. He's 26, but from a business perspective, he seems a lot younger to me. But he's going to learn a lot. He really is. I'm happy that he got his money. You know, now go out there and just play like hell. This is what I wanted to hear from Brian. This is great. Check this out. Brian says, when I hear a well-respected and very credible journalist like Tim Kawakami say he talked to people around the league saying it's a high number and they're not close, I believe it. Why would TK fib? Great question. I'm not saying he fibbed. Why wouldn't he ask? Why wouldn't he go to Juwan Jennings and his representation and ask the question? Does he not have access? Yeah, I'm just talking about, like, if you're going to do great work, and he has a great reputation, I don't doubt that he has the ear of the 49ers. I don't doubt that for 1 second. What I'm saying is that if I'm a player, if I am an agent, I would expect some type of confirmation on my end. I would expect you to give me a call, reach out to me. If you reach out to me and I say, no comment, if you try to contact me and I don't respond, then why can't that be a part of the statement? Know why it can't be? Because this is a game, man. This is how professional sports work. It's not fair. It's not fair. Organizations have the upper hand. Corporations have the upper hand. Institutions that we might work for have the upper hand. I get it. But it's okay to educate the listeners to let them know how this thing works. I would not pay Juwan Jennings $20 million. No way would I pay him $20 million. Would I pay him 15? Yes. Yes, he deserves 15. He deserves to double his salary if he's going to be the starting wide receiver for a team that has playoff and Super Bowl aspirations. When Brandon Ayuk, your high-priced player, I think Larry Krueger had it right. I think he's going to probably come back around November, game 6, 5, 6, something like that. Why would he come back not 100%? It makes no sense. He already got paid. He doesn't want to get hurt again. Vicky says, I agree if Tim is reporting it is true. Yeah. Let me ask you a question, Vicky. Do you think that he should have contacted or he has contacted Juwan Jennings and his representation? And if he has, have you heard anything to speak to what their response was? That's my point. Because I don't think that he should be paid $20 million. But I think he should be paid $15 million. I think he should have his salary doubled. Who has the worst representation, Jennings or Kuminga? Tell me why Kuminga's representation is bad. I don't think and I don't know who Kuminga's representation is, but I don't think the Warriors like how they operate. Whether or not he is representing Jonathan Kuminga appropriately, I can't draw that conclusion. from what I heard that the 49ers offered Jonathan Kuminga, I wouldn't accept it. I would not accept it. There is no documentation. This rumor was out there that the Warriors offered Jonathan Kuminga $150 million. And then Monty Poole and Bonte did a podcast in which they said it ain't true. I haven't seen anything to suggest that. I said, I don't care what you're asking for. If one of the best organizations in the NBA offers you $150 million and you don't accept it, I think you need to consider new representation, if that is the case. But by all accounts, that did not happen. Until I hear something from Jawan Jennings or his camp concerning how much money he's asking for, I'm not going to put that on him like that. I'm not going to do it. I'm not. Because because I understand how the media works. Were there other variables associated with the $20 million? Was it, we don't know all the specifics until you hear both sides. But it's interesting, Brian, because a lot of people are like you. Because a well-respected journalist said it, it must be true. I don't agree with that. I come from the Luke Walton school. Question everybody. It's okay to question people. Everybody should be held accountable. Brian says again, JK's agent's telling the kid that he's up there with Cade Cunningham. Cade freaking Cunningham. What? The dude is either getting bad representation or he has an overvalued self-worth of his game. Okay, so I heard that too. And I don't believe it. I don't think he's on Cade Cunningham's level. Cade Cunningham's contract is for, I believe, in excess of $224 million, or maybe more than that. Wagner's contract is $200+ million. You don't think that Jonathan Kuminga and Josh Giddey are worth $150? They're not worth $30 million a year? I mean, I would disagree with that. So again, you don't hear comments from players. I don't think the Warriors, again, I don't think they like Jonathan Kuminga's representation. And I think that has hurt Jonathan because we've never heard that the kid doesn't work hard. We never heard that. On the contrary, we've heard that he works very hard. Doesn't always play well, right? But he did play well in the playoffs. And if teams had money, I think they would offer him a contract that is commensurate with his talent. They don't have the money. He's not on Cade Cunningham's level. Cade Cunningham is also being paid not only because he's an all-star player, maybe a perennial all-star, but he is a personality that they can market. He's from the United States. He's an eloquent speaker. He's a good citizen. He's a community guy. He's all the things that organizations look for when they want to write a check. Jonathan Kuminga is not from the United States. He's still becoming familiar with the culture. I would even say not the language, but how you use language, how you use body language, all of the things that an American-born player would have more access to. I'd take Giddey over JK in a heartbeat. Averaged 15, 7, and 8 in 70 games last year. Would you pay Josh $30 million? I think he deserves it. And he had a good year. in Chicago. But let me give Billy Donovan some credit for that too. All right. All right. Let me give his teammates. Let me give his teammates credit. Right. Because who's the guard in Chicago? Out of North Carolina, was looked upon as being a eighth man. He's averaged over 20 points a game over the past couple of years. Can't think of his name right now. So my point is, I don't necessarily think that Chicago is ready to make a deep playoff run, a challenge for a championship. But what I am saying is that different players have different experiences depending upon geography, who they're playing for, so on and so forth. One of the things that the public doesn't get, but I understand it, a lot of these players are coming from situations where literally from the age of 12, they've had the weight of the world on their shoulders. They're told that they're God's greatest gift. They're arrogant. They're manipulated by their representation, sometimes family members. There's all of these things that happen to these young kids. And then they get in these spaces, these business-oriented arenas, where they realize that everything is not like what they were told. Jonathan Kuminga needs to get better. He needs to get better as a player. He needs to listen more. But I'm not going to diminish his talent. I mean, some of the numbers that I heard for his talent and for what I think he can do as a player, I don't agree with. I don't. He's not a finished product, but I'm not going to put a ceiling on him. I'm not going to say, oh, he's this player or that player. I'm like, well, let him get on the court and prove it to me. You know, let me see. I think he needs to go. It's the bottom line. And if it's playing for $7.9 million and to becoming a free agent, you know, he's going to lose money. You know, you don't get those years back. You don't. But I do think he'll make his way. I do, because he's a hard worker. You know, he's not out, based on our knowledge, doing things that are not conducive to his success. For all accounts, he's a nice guy. His teammates talk highly of him. Brian says, if I'm paying a guy $30 million a year, I don't want to have to worry about his mood from game to game, or worry about a 6'7" athlete freak not being able to rebound or play good off-ball defense. Okay, so Steve Kerr's come out and said, you know what? I really don't do a good job coaching young players. I don't. He said it numerous times. And I applaud for Steve. I applaud Kerr for coming out and saying, listen, he didn't call them shortcomings, but he's saying, he goes, I depend on my young coaches for that. He came from an era where he played 4 years in college. Kuminga went to 4 high schools. Players get better when they play. You know? I've seen the Warriors actually have good coaching. But I've seen, but like when you look at the Warriors, they have the best system in the NBA. But I talked about this last week and a couple of weeks ago. Brian, think for a second. Who did Steve Kerr play for? He played for a Hall of Fame college coach, Phil Jackson, who learned from Red Holtzman, Popovich. Draymond played for Izzo. Jimmy Butler played for a great college coach. Kuminga's 22. Only 22. I can't imagine being in the NBA at like 18 or 19 years old. I know it's a different NBA. On a good team? Vicky says, I've never heard your take on Mike Brown being coach for your New York Knicks. A great question, Vicky. I actually did talk about it. I don't know if you were listening that week or so, but I did talk about it. And I had to change my stance on Mike Brown. I actually apologized to Mike Brown. And I apologized because I was in my feelings. I didn't think Thibodeau should have been fired, but I understand why he was fired. They don't trust Thibodeau. They like him. They know he's a good coach, but they did not trust that he was going to play his bench. All right? I need to accept the fact that Mark Jackson has been blackballed. It's over. He's not going to get a job. I need to accept that. When the job was open, I wanted Mark Jackson to get the job. I do not think Mike Brown is better suited to coach the Knicks than Mark Jackson. I don't believe it. Why? Because I played with Mark Jackson. I know what kind of person coach he is. I know his knowledge. I know what kind of leader and mentor and nurturer he is. His team will love him. Now, where I misstepped was, if you're not going to hire Mark, you're going to fire Thibodeau. When you look at the candidates that were applying for the Knicks job, Mark Brown has a damn good resume. He has a multiple-time Coach of the Year, has won championships with organizations as an assistant, has taken a team that had not been to the playoffs in 13 years in the Sacramento Kings and took them to the playoffs. I had to put some respect on his name. And he's shown that he will work with ownership. So he's going to go to New York and he's going to coach the guys up, but they're not going to play as many minutes as he played as they played under Thibodeau. So he's a good coach. He's a good candidate. How long he'll be there, I have no idea. But to say that he was not a good candidate, I think is that wasn't fair to him. So I'm excited about the Knicks this year because of their talent. Because Mike Brown, he's basically a defensive coach. They're lacking in defense. So with Boston being down, with Indiana being down, Detroit's going to be good. Philly could be good. We don't know. But the Knicks have a real chance. So I'm excited. I'm actually excited. Took a long way to get there, but I'm excited. Brian says, I love how some people believe that these coaches only see their guys on game days. Hate to break it to people, but these guys see the players practice every day. There's a reason he's not playing. Now, you're wrong, by the way, Brian. Listen, dude, we need to stop worshiping coaches. Stop doing that. Stop. Did you hear what Nancy Lieberman said about George Karl? Did you hear that? I'm not comparing any coach to any coach. I'm not doing that. What I am saying is coaches are not perfect. They all have their strengths and they have their challenges. Some coaches do a better job with young players. I'll give you an example. And I'm dating myself, but I'm a basketball historian. Larry Brown was great at developing young players. Great. Larry Brown took the New Jersey Nets team. They had like second and third year players, Buck Williams, Albert King, Michael Corrin, Michael Ray Richardson, Otis Birdsong, beating teams in the playoffs. And he's done it multiple times. Why? Because he's great at teaching young players. Teaching is about trust. Would you agree with that? It's about trust. Ty Lue is a great confidant. His players trust him. I think Steve Kerr is a wonderful NBA coach. His resume speaks for itself. Hasn't done the best job with young players. Has not. It's not all James Wiseman's fault that he wasn't successful in Golden State. If I'm Moses Moody, I'm like, again, I can buy a lot of acreage in Arkansas with $39 million. If Steve Kerr wasn't on board with that, he probably doesn't get the 3-year, $40 million extension. But has he been good for Moses Moody's development? I don't think so. I don't think so. At some point, you got to play. At some point, coach is going to look at you as a player and say, well, this is what they are. They do it for Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield just goes out there and plays. Why? Because he's a 10-year veteran. He's a 10-year veteran. I get it. But young players don't have the same rope that some of these older guys do. And I don't necessarily buy into that. I think everybody should be coached. Everybody should be held accountable. You know, I get, you know, you got one of the 10 best players in the history of basketball, and he deserves to kind of be on a championship run. I get all that. And then there's reality. TJ says, Frank, thoughts on Horford and Milton? Personally, I think upgrade, but interested in your thoughts. I think they're both quality additions to the Warriors. Love them both. I'm a guy who likes smart players. Al Horford is a very smart player. He's a winner. He's a leader. He's a mentor. He's going to be great for the team. He's going to be great for the community. He's going to be great for the organization. And if they can sign him, I think he's definitely an asset. And I love DeAnthony Milton. He's a dog. I liked him at USC. I liked him in Memphis. And the little bit that we got a chance to see him last year, I liked him there too. So with Milton, it's really about his health. But I love those two additions. I like the Warriors team. But this cloud and this karma, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't know if there's any reason for Jonathan Kuminga to be on his best behavior. I don't think so. I mean, I hope that he is. You know, even if the veterans try to lean on him a little bit, he's like, yo, this is my last year. I'm not worried about anything. He's 5 years in the league. So, as absurd as it might seem, at some point, the best thing might be that he's not even active. We don't know how this thing is going to turn out. We don't know. I hope it turns out for the best, because there's a lot to learn about this business and about life. One of the things that I watch and I reflect on my own life is Michael Beasley. I'm happy that Michael Beasley is, you know, getting a little run, albeit it's in the big three, but his notoriety, you know, his interest among basketball fans has probably been as high as it's ever been, even though he played in the NBA. And as somebody now who literally could still play in the NBA is on the other side, who's dealt with some trials and tribulations, and he can calm down and sit and be really reflective in his thoughts. It's beautiful to hear because that guy's been through some things. And what he said that is so profound and it's so hard for anybody who kind of makes it out of a bad situation, family-wise. He said Pat Riley told him, Michael, you should get a 2-bedroom apartment and you have your room and have a room for your mom when she comes to town. That's what Pat Riley told him. He said, everybody else, let them figure it out. This is your career. What did Michael Beasley say? Michael Beasley said, you know what? I wish I had have listened to Pat Riley. That's what he said. Had he listened to Pat Riley, he would have been set for life. I give him credit for being honest and reflective because that nurturing piece is so important. It is so important. And if you don't have any connection to that level of struggle, that lack of support, I'm going to tell you, support systems are so important. Everybody knows this, but I'm going to speak to the obvious. When you have those systems in place and it starts at home with your family, your chance of success is so much greater. I'll give a perfect example. I'm watching Steve Kerr's son do an interview maybe a week ago. And someone asked him a very poignant question. They said, because he's been elevated to an assistant position. And he goes, the person asked him was a female reporter. She goes, are you concerned that people are going to assume that you got your position because you're Steve Kerr's son? And he goes, you know, he kind of felt the way, but he was like, no. He goes, I just have to accept the fact that if my name wasn't Kerr, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have this job. So all I can do is go out and, you know, work hard and do the best job that I can do. And he's perfectly right. And he's one of millions, you know. All you can do is do the best job that you can do. And a lot of these athletes, a lot of these players are trying to do the best job that they can do under the circumstances. And it oftentimes is not right. It doesn't work out well for them. But that guidance and that stability and that ability to listen, because actually Pat Riley was giving Beasley some really, really important information. Had he trusted Pat Riley and listened, God knows how much money he had right now. Vicky says, I love Mike. I hope he does a great job. Me too. I'm rooting for him. Things have worked out well for Mike Brown. He's had some trials and tribulations. The thing that I admire about Mike Brown is his ability to continue to come back. You know, as opposed to just saying, you know what, I've made enough money. I got millions. You know, the game doesn't love me. He's like, no, you know what? Bring it on, man. I'm going to go hang out in New York. Nice, beautiful penthouse apartment. And I'm going to coach the New York Knicks. How about that? Brian says, how can I, as a coach, trust a player in a high leverage situation in a game if they can't do simple things I ask them to do in practice, like rebound? Players have to earn trust. It's not given. It's a two-way street, okay? It's a two-way street. Players make coaches look good too. Right? All I'm saying, it's a two-way street. This afternoon, I was watching Stephen Curry's 4 minutes of glory at the Olympics. The greatest 4 minutes of basketball I've ever seen. From anybody, including Michael Jordan. That was better than anything that Jordan's done over a 4-minute period, in my opinion. Now, forever, the greatest sequence will be Michael Jordan stealing the ball from Karl Malone and going down on the other end with the world watching. Utah trying to stop him, and he's looking at Brian Russell saying, "You know what? I'm getting ready to end you, Brian. This is going to be the legacy for your career. Oh, I scored 14,000 points. It doesn't matter right now. I'm going to make you famous in the wrong way." And he did it. The greatest sequence I've ever seen was Michael stealing the ball from Karl Malone, looking at the clock, slowly walking down the court, eyeing Phil Jackson, letting Phil know, "Phil, we got this. Don't worry about it. Sit down." Telling his teammates, "Y'all can relax because this thing is over." And then actually doing it. I've never seen anything as great as that before. Stephen Curry's 4 minutes of basketball glory in France, knowing that he had his coach's back. You know how important it is for the head coach of the Olympic team to win the gold medal? That would have been a blemish on Curry's career that I don't think he would have ever gotten over, in spite of 4 championships and maybe another. This is country. And Stephen Curry, under the most extreme conditions, did something that people like you and I and basketball fans will never forget. Trust. Because of trust. He trusted himself. He trusted his teammates. He trusted his coach. I'm not comparing Jonathan Kuminga to Stephen Curry. But you got to trust the kid. You got to trust him. You can change the mindset of players. You can. You got to trust him. Frank, what was your best low post move on a defender? Give us a little, quick, being modest. I checked your stats. All right. I had a really good jump hook. I played for an excellent coach that I gave some kind of put through hell a little bit my first 2 years, because he would coach me pretty hard. He coached me hard, and I frustrated him because I was a really good kid, but I was a little undisciplined, particularly like if I didn't like how I was being talked to, because I'm like a lot of players, probably like Kuminga in some respects. I'm looking at how my coach is coaching somebody else versus how he's coaching me. And guess what? None of that stuff matters. Listen to the message as opposed to what's being said. By the time I was a sophomore at Fordham, I was starting. And I had a really, really good jump hook. Now, in high school, I was basically a rebounder, a really good rebounder, and I was a really good free throw shooter. And tough player. My high school teammate, Billy Donovan, is going to be inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame next weekend. I'm actually traveling to Boston this week on Thursday. I'm going to be in attendance. Got invited. Incredible. So I feel so lucky and fortunate. But my best move was a turnaround jump shot on the post. I developed a pretty good post game. I did. But it happened kind of like after I got to college. By the time I was like 23, 24, I was a really good player. And it was because my body, I could use my body. I was a good player, man. The only player that could really stop me if they would have to be like solid NBA players, 3 inches taller. Nobody my size could stop me. Nobody my height could stop me at my best from scoring inside. I had a soft touch, and I was very physical. So my turnaround shot was probably my best shot. And I was a really good free throw shooter. So, yeah, pretty cool. So true, Ryan. There you go. Mickey, Frank, why does Steve play Pods? Is Pods a better basketball player than JK? All right. To be fair to Pods and JK, they play different positions. Totally different positions. Brandon Podzinski also is a high IQ player who sometimes gets carried away and he forgets who he is. But I understand why Kerr plays him, because he's easier for Stephen to play with, because he knows basketball. I mean, he plays like a veteran. Now, I like Brandon as long as he kind of stays in his lane. He plays to answer your question. JK and Brandon are asked to do different things, but Brandon Podzinski knows how to play the type of basketball that Kerr wants to see. He passes, he makes routine passes, he cuts, he gets charges. Now, why can't Jonathan Kuminga get the charges that Brandon gets? I mean, like, if I'm coaching Jonathan Kuminga, I'm like, dude, how many charges have you drawn? I'm going to watch you this game, and I'm going to count your number of box outs. I wish I was coaching him. I think I can help him because he's talented. So I think it's Brandon's IQ and his willingness to play the way that Kerr wants him to play, which leads to winning. It actually does. So he got to get better. All right, Frank, maybe your game similar to Corliss Williamson. Yeah, similar, but Corliss was a better player than I was, that's for sure. But yeah, similar to that. Corliss Williamson was at a young age, and even as a pro, was really, really strong. We were both strong. But I think he was an even better low post offensive player. I think Corliss Williamson might have some challenges playing in this era of the NBA, though, because he wasn't a great passer. He wasn't a great passer. I was a good passer. So, 6'6", 6'7", he wasn't really a great free throw shooter, but he was strong as an ox. He really was. And he knew how to score. Good player. Coaching now. I think he coached for Minnesota. One of my favorite players because he did kind of remind me of myself a little bit. He's a better player than I was. Great question, Vicky. I removed my next one so he could read yours and answer. Thank you. Andrew to go. Sorry, but I'm just going to say it. Alabama football team looked like the worst team in college football today. They didn't look good based on their standards. Kalen DeBoer, time as Alabama head coach is pretty much over. This guy needs to go. He's running Alabama football. Here's the thing. I think that they should have let Nick Saban pick the coach. But that was the alumni, to a lesser degree, the athletic director, trying to show the Alabama faithful that it wasn't all Nick Saban. It was all Nick Saban. Nick Saban's mindset is kill or be killed, figuratively speaking, as it relates to football. Football is simple. It's blocking and tackling. It's teams inflicting their will on the opposition. Alabama's not doing that now. Alabama is being pushed around. That's not Alabama. Kalen's mentality is, he had a great career before he got to Washington, but the Pac-12 is an offensive league. It's an offensive conference. They don't play smash mouth football. They play, let's get it down the field via the pass. That's not SEC football. It's not. You probably got to talk to some of the guys in the SEC in ways that you might not feel comfortable with as a coach. That's the culture. So, they lost to Florida State. Florida State won 2 games last year. Florida State is good. They got Andresi. They got a good quarterback. Bill O'Brien benched him at Boston College. And that kid was like, you know what? You don't bench me. I'm out of here. He's a hell of a player. And Florida State, they're going to give Clemson a run, I think, in the ACC. So I think that was a mistake by Bill O'Brien. Florida State is probably going to win minimum 9 games this year, maybe 10. And Alabama's probably going to win 9 games, right? Go 9-3, 9-4. That's not good enough. It's Alabama. And, people are kind of circling if Nick Saban going to coach again. I don't think he wants to coach Alabama anymore. I think he's done with that. I could see him coaching again, but not at Alabama. I don't know. TG says, thanks for the show tonight, Frank, on Labor Day weekend. Go Vows. I'm so proud of that team. Yeah, man, I look forward to this show. I really do. It's fun. USC wants to end the annual game with Notre Dame. What a shame. Yeah, USC has made a lot of bumblehead decisions. USC in the Big Ten? Come on, man. It's too much to ask for the players and the coaches to travel that much. Inclement weather, you got a chemistry test in 2 days, and you're on a plane. Come on. It's ridiculous. UCLA, come on, man. This is an example of greed. Greed getting in the way of common sense. Yeah, I'm very disappointed. I'm a big college football fan, but I'm also very passionate, and I care a lot about student athletes and what's best for them as well. Traveling 2,500, 3,000 miles every other weekend, I don't think is best for them. You know how it is to be a freshman in college? Most of these cats come from adverse situations, and they literally can't see that far ahead of them, right? So with the NIL now, hey man, money. But let me tell you something. Depending upon your background, your educational background, your first couple of years at a major university is akin to survival. It is akin to survival. That's what it is. Do you want to be the person who somehow gets a degree and you don't know anything? You can't write an essay. You can't represent yourself in a professional manner. You have habits that they put under the table, sweep under the rug. It's hard going to a university and thriving as an athlete and as a student. It's hard. You can do it. Many do it. But you think that traveling, I remember when I was in college at Fordham, all of the teams that we played were then 2.5 hours. We went up to West Point, was like maybe 2.5 hours. We would go to Philly to play LaSalle. But Manhattan College, Iona, 30 minutes away. Imagine getting on a plane every game and traveling 4 or 5 hours. That's tough. Yes, I missed the Pac-12. I do. Vicky says 5 more games for the Valkaries. How many do you think they can win? I love seeing UCLA getting their clocks clean yesterday. Very funny. I saw a lot of drops by UCLA's wide receivers. That bothers me. I don't like drops. I think they'll be better, but I mean, they're just not cohesive. But I hope they do well, though. They should be in the Pac-12. Come on, man. Valkaries, I'm blown away. I love their fans. I love the team. I love the coaching excellence. I love the camaraderie among the players. I love the toughness. I love how they protect their home court. Yeah, and I don't have to be there. It'd be nice to soak that up, but I love watching them on television. I really do. So happy for them. So. I got to talk about a couple of things. You all have, you see how, I mean, it feels like I've been talking for 30 minutes. We've been on air for almost an hour and 40 minutes. I want to get into the U.S. Open, and I want to mention the name Taylor Townsend. Although she failed to reach the round of 16, she is a star. She was the star of the first week of the U.S. Open. A young lady by the name of Jelena Ostapenko accused Taylor of having no class and no education. But she later said that her comments were a result of her not knowing the English language very well. It's not my first language. I didn't know, that type of thing. Don't you hate that? Don't you hate when somebody says something so horrible, and as opposed to saying, you know what? I got to check myself. I got some feelings about people that are not positive. They're very hurtful, and I need to do better. Because if you apologize and you blame it on the fact that you don't know the English language, it takes away your apology. Wait till I play you again outside of the United States, is what she said. You have no education, you have no class. Taylor Townsend is a mother. Can you imagine having somebody who has clearly had to ascend and do some incredible things to get to the point where she's a professional tennis player, literally on the biggest stage in the world? You know how many doors you have to knock down to get in that position? And you have this sore loser attack your intelligence? I felt really, really sad for her, because to attack someone's intelligence is the go-to. If you want to really demean someone, tell them that they're not smart. Even if they have money, because money, anybody can have money. But to stand in front of that level of adversity and feel like you're being picked on. That's why when people talk about well, I got to get the money and intelligence. No, school is really important. I'm an advocate of education, strong advocate. Don't ever underestimate the value of education. Do you have to get education in school? Not necessarily. But it is a tried and true way that we know helps to shape you intellectually. The one thing that I sadly had to conclude about tennis, and I like women's tennis. Steffi Graf will always be my favorite player. But here's the thing. When there's equal talent in tennis, invariably the player who is the best conditioned wins. It's true. Taylor Townsend simply ran out of gas. She had the game within her grasp, and she couldn't close the deal, unfortunately. I felt so sad. But this is her new beginning. This is her opportunity to get some endorsements, work on her game, get ready for next year. But what a stage to be on. And I thought she handled herself with grace. I'm a fan now. Big fan. Aussie rules. Due to one and done, do you feel many or most student athletes at big time programs don't attend class? They see NIL and futures as pro athletes, no wish to get their degrees, I guess. Your take, Frank. I'm the first person to graduate in my family from college, my immediate family. I also have a master's degree. I have a lot of degrees. I'm the product of a teenage mother. So the look on my mom's face when I graduated from Fordham, that will never get old for me because we both graduated when I graduated. I never feel in any space that I'm in that I don't belong. And it's because of my level of intelligence. It's because of my education. Nobody can take that from me. Nobody. Because of my education, I'm interested in so many things beyond sports. I care about people. I care about humanity. I care about the world that we live in. I'm interested in laws. I'm interested in how we can, to the best of our ability, make things more equitable for all people. I'm interested in how people are treated because my level of awareness is much broader because I have an education. I can talk 3 hours about education, nonstop. So, people say Kobe Bryant went to the pros out of high school. Kobe Bryant is one of the most educated players to ever play in the NBA. He's brilliant, incredibly intelligent. R.I.P. Yeah, man. So you want to feel comfortable in a room, in a space, regardless of how much money you have, get an education. And it's interesting because when I saw Taylor Townsend being disrespected by this young lady, I felt the way about it. And you know what I did today? And I'm suggesting everybody else do this as well. When I got into media, I was the only one. And there were people who probably said, he's never going to make it. What is he doing in media? I said, okay. And I became number one because of my education, not because I'm the smartest. No, because of my education. You know what I did today? Because he's a hero of mine. I watched. That's why you got to give Bill Simmons, who theorized and created 30 for 30 for ESPN. I don't agree with everything he says, and sometimes, he can go off on tangents and all that good stuff. But he's brilliant. No one can say Bill Simmons is not brilliant, because he is. 30 ESPN Classics did a video or a 30 for 30 piece on the great Ralph Wiley. Ralph Wiley is the GOAT of journalism for many Black journalists, and maybe people of other ethnicities as well. And I watched that 30 for 30 today because I wanted to feel inspired. You want to live up to a standard? Look at Ralph Wiley's career. I know some of y'all might not even know Ralph Wiley because he's, I noticed Ralph Wiley when I was a young kid growing up in New York, when I guess he was working at Sports Illustrated at that particular time, and Bob Costas would bring him on to NBC and they would debate. And tit for tat. And most of the time I walked away feeling like, Ralph Wiley had got the better of Bob Costas sometimes. And he did. And yet he showed him grace. And I think Bob Costas felt that, this is what I need. I need to be in a debate environment with somebody who's going to challenge me. And I learned so many things about Ralph Wiley today that I did not know. From Memphis, Tennessee, had a scholarship at Brown University, went to, Knoxville College. At the age of 23, came out to the Bay Area to work for the Oakland Tribune. Started as like a copy guy. 5 years later, he was a columnist after being a beat writer. Sports Illustrated hires him probably late in his 20s. The only Black dude there. Became a star at Sports Illustrated. Stood on truth. Was really about truth. Wrote numerous books. That's your standard. So, I said to myself, I don't care if I don't make a dime. I have to stand on truth. I have to do research. I have to question authority. I have to ask my listeners now, why haven't we had a quote from Jawan Jennings or his representation? If Tim Kamikawi is so revered and so respected, why haven't we heard anything from Jawan Jennings? Isn't that fair? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton, two of the most intellect and thoughtful athletes. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Now, Bill Walton, my childhood hero, he had some regrettable moments. When he was an NBA announcer, broadcaster, and how he used to go at Rasheed Wallace and some other guys was just totally unfair. And I didn't appreciate that at all, especially when you consider Bill Walton's history, being a part of the hippie culture and everything else, no telling what he did. And yet, when he got on television, he would kind of dog those guys out. I didn't like that. But when I look at Bill Walton in his totality, I admire him because he didn't want to be simply known as a basketball player. He wanted to be known as a person. And everything that I know, listening to the comments from Luke, and I'm sure the rest of his brothers, you know how hard it is for young people to question authority in an intellectual way? It's hard. It can be overwhelming. But from a young age, he preached that to his kids. I love it because I was able to suck some of that up. It's okay to question authority. It really is. All right. I want to tell you about a movie that I saw. I saw the movie Caught Stealing, starring Austin Butler, Zoe Kravitz, Lee Schreiber, Mr. Hard Knocks voice, and the great Regina King of Boys in the Hood fame. The movie was directed by one of the great directors of his era, Darren Aronofsky. He directed Black Swan. He directed The Whale. This guy's a brilliant filmmaker. And one of the most endearing things to me about this movie, Caught Stealing, is that it was made for $40 million. Not a very expensive film by today's standards, but it had all of the Aronofsky accoutrement. Quick editing, fast pace. When you think this is going to happen, that happens. A good movie. Basically, I'll give you a little bit. Austin Butler plays a former high school phenom who ruins his career, and he's trying to find redemption by drinking himself to death in New York City. He gets caught up in something really bad because of his friend, and madness ensues after that. That's enough. That's enough. It's kind of a redemption story. It's what it is. Played by Austin Butler. One interesting nugget is his favorite team are the Giants, the San Francisco Giants. Just like, so I'm kind of, I wouldn't call it shocked, but I'm surprised that so many movies, meaning more than one, when they reference baseball, they reference the San Francisco Giants. These are a couple of movies that I've seen now in history that the central character was a San Francisco Giants baseball fan. I thought that was interesting. You consider all of the other teams, these characters love the San Francisco Giants. Check it out. It's a good movie. And the one thing that I was thinking to myself while watching this movie is Austin Butler. Austin Butler he's 30 years old, he's done a good job. But is he a movie star? He's definitely a star. He's definitely a star. But as we look to the next 10, 20 years, is he a movie star? The way that Denzel Washington is, the way that Brad Pitt is, the way that Tom Cruise is, I guess Leonardo DiCaprio is, although there aren't that many movie stars. Who else? There aren't that many. There really isn't. There's some stars. They got good scripts. I mean, I associate Matt Damon with Jason Bourne. I don't know anybody else can play that role but him. Chris Nolan's Batman. But those are actors who are playing specific roles. Joaquin Phoenix is as good an actor as anybody, but is he a movie star? He's a star. He kills certain roles. He really does. But is he a movie star? Denzel Washington's a movie star. Tom Cruise is a movie star. Brad Pitt is a movie star. I love film. I do. I'm passionate about it. Frantic Rage, my movie guy. Movie is great. Love the Giants connection. Yeah, wasn't that kind of interesting though? TG says, love takes on weekly movies because me and my wife go to HH and movie. Happy hour in the movie. Yeah, I know y'all do. I love it, man. Frank, did you hear that Grant Napier got a Sacramento sports show job? I did, and I'm happy for Grant. I am. I hope he kills it. I know he is. He owned that market for 20 years, and people don't forget when he started, he probably was the only person who was competing against himself, but he's a talented guy. And I think that radio is the medium that he was meant to do. And I just hope, and I think that he will, approach his job with a little more empathy. Even in his current political times, I think if he shows more empathy and more compassion for all people, he's going to quickly ascend to the #1 spot once again, because he's great. He's brilliant at what he does. I'm happy for him. The author of the book is based on the author of the book. The movie is based on, is from the Bay. I did not know that. I did not know that. Grant Napier sacked down. Yeah, I think it starts September 2nd or something like that. I'm not quite sure. But he has a gig. And see, I don't believe in burying people. I don't believe it. I mean, I don't. Show me who you were, and then show me who you are now. Show me who you were, and if you are genuine, he's had a lot of time to reflect and work on himself. A lot of time. It would be a shame to think that none of us are interested in growing as people. I mean, I'm going to listen to Grant when I can, to check it out, because he's passionate about sports. He's passionate about SAC, and I think he's going to be a hit. SAC King's future, your take. I think Scott Perry is going to hold people accountable. I don't know if Doug Christie long term is going to be the coach. I don't know. I haven't really seen him coach. Coaching is an art. It is an art. I think what Doug Christie brings to the table is he doesn't cheat the game. Guys are going to be held accountable, but coaching is an art. Can he develop a system, even with the players that he has, that allows him to beat really, really good teams? I don't know. Scott Perry knows how to evaluate talent. He does. They won't make the playoffs this year, if that's what you're asking. The Kings are not going to make the playoffs. They're not. But I think they'll be entertaining, and I think they'll play hard. I like Dennis Schroeder in SAC. I hate to hear news about him being ridiculed and subjected to racism while playing basketball for a country that I'm sure he loves, Germany. At this stage, it's just terrible. But I like what Dennis Schroeder brings to the table as a professional. Defensively, I just think they're going to have a lot of problems. But I'm interested in seeing SAC in a full season under Doug Christie. Do I see Wemby as the future face of the NBA? I see him as one of the futures, one of the faces. Do I see him as being like the preeminent guy? No, I don't. I see him being one of the guys. I think it's hard for players not born in the United States to galvanize and really capture the urban fan base. It's hard. It's hard because it's nuanced. Black culture is so nuanced. And I'm sure some people might think, you know what? Moving forward, Black culture is not going to be the culture that manifests itself in the NBA. I disagree with that. There's a reason why Anthony Edwards is probably the most popular among all the young players. There's a reason why. Because he's from Atlanta. He's from where he's from. And that's nuance. You can't teach that. You can't even adopt that. You got to live that. So I would love to have MB in my league. That's for sure. Frank, your show is the best, man. Not pandering here. Just keeping it real. I'm going to make a statement about that. I appreciate you. Vicky says they will fight, meaning the Sacramento Kings, the beam about 30 times only this season in Sac. I love that Frank is real. We need more of it. Okay. TG, I really appreciate you saying that. And for content, I'm definitely one of the best shows. There's no doubt about it. And this is something that I know how to do, that I feel that I was meant to do, because I lead with truth. I do. And I actually do a lot of research. As hard as all of the most popular people work, I work just as hard. And fortunately, I don't have to worry about what I say affecting my bag, because I don't make any money doing this. I don't. I respect people in the industry who are literally making a really nice living doing this, doing something that they're passionate about, sports. But it comes with a cost, because you got to have those relationships. You have to. You know, it doesn't mean that you need to like be a complete shell for people. No, you don't have to do that. But there is an awareness that, you know what, I'm connected to this stuff. You know, and if I was working for an establishment, I would be cognizant of it also. But the reality is, my truth would still be the number one objective for me. And I know this because I worked in the business. I did a show for over 10 years. Now, granted, it was a once a week show, but I could have got fired. So, you know, I trust you. You know, the listeners are the most important thing to me. Not how many subscribers I have, not how many likes I have. I don't even promote the show. I'm only on one platform. But as long as people know, and people do know, because you can't fake this stuff. You're either good or you're not good. And there's a lot of people who are not very good. You know, but they might be connected. They work their asses off. They work real hard. Everybody works hard. Everybody. But can you personalize what you do? Like, I'll give a perfect example. Different focus, but look at what Joe Button has done. Joe Button is truly authentic in what he brings to the table as a host of a show. And fortunately, you know, it's working for him in a major way. You guys see Joe Rogan's background? I mean, gosh, come on. Joe Rogan, I mean, you may or may not like his truth. I don't, but, you know, I respect that he's been authentic. I respect that. I'm just trying to be authentic. That's it. I'm trying to be my true self. You know why? Because when I'm not here, these tapes are still going to be out here. Maybe someone would be inspired by what I do, like I am inspired by Ralph Wiley. That's important to me. This is history. This is your legacy. And people say, well, it's not that serious. Yes, it is. It is that serious. Yes, it is. That's why I study. That's why I do the research. That's why I got to be right as best I can. That's why I ask the questions. I don't want Juwan Jennings looking like a fool, because he's not a fool. He's a very intelligent person. that works his tail off. You got the whole market thinking that the guy's delusional because the only thing that we've heard was that he's asking for $20 million. I would not pay Jawan Jennings $20 million. But to not expect him to have a raise, I think he deserves 15, personally. Aussie Rules. Frank, I hope you can do a watch party for the WNBA playoff game. I will do it. I will do it, Aussie Rules. I will. All right, y'all. I'm going to break down and say goodnight and do my thing. Start September 14th, WNBA playoffs. And get out of here. I knew this was going to be a special show. I knew it. Because when I was preparing, I had so much stuff to talk about. And you all asked incredible questions. And the listeners out there who are not involved by asking questions, but you're listening, I really appreciate you so much. I'm going to ask you to hit the like button. I'm going to ask you to subscribe to the show. I don't know what I would do if I had 1,000 subscribers. That would be amazing. Maybe I'll get there one day. Success and getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. This is Labor Day weekend. Everybody be safe out there. Vicky, it is phenomenal to hear you commenting on the show. Everybody be safe, and I will talk to you, next week, but maybe even before then. Good night, everybody.